Greetings and welcome back to the Wild Swans at Coole. We are back again with the beginning theory series, and as you know, I am following the book of Peter Berry 4th edition beginning theory, and you can download the book from the description. So let's begin. In this episode, we decode stories using psychoanalytic criticism from Freud and Lacan views. So what is psychoanalysis? Psychoanalysis is a technique. Through this, we cure mental disorder by investigating the interaction of conscious and unconscious elements in mind. So to understand conscious and unconscious, we have to understand that it is using psychology. We are using psychology to understand literature. Think of it like this, that every story has two sides, the one that you can see and the one hiding underneath. So Freud says that people hide thoughts from themselves. Now why this happens? There is many reasons: societal pressure, repressed feelings. The main reason lies always in the childhood. For example, if you are a child and you have said something and then you are being punished because of saying that, so unconsciously in your mind you gather the information that if I say these things I will be punished, so you hide that thought. So when you grow up, you have forgotten that you are being punished for saying this, but now you don't say this because now you don't remember the punishment, but now you don't say this. So similarly, there are some things that we hide in ourselves, and Freud believes this is the reason behind why we act differently. So characters show these secret feelings through dreams, action and sleeps in literature. That is what Freud believes. Now dreams is the key to hidden truth. There is the example of Dora. Dora is a young girl who had bad dreams. Freud said that she dreams about a house on fire, about confusing family and hidden sexual feelings. So that fire is actually representing her passion, her hidden sexual feelings, because she has somehow realized that these things she cannot tell loudly. But somehow, as a human being, we need to express things. Our natural tendency is to express things. So, but because of societal pressure, some forgotten pressure, we have learned to not say things, but we have forget about it. This is the secret behind unconscious. Freud had divided this. We cannot exactly say that where this unconscious, conscious and preconscious lives, because we cannot actually identify where our mind is situated. Some believes it is in our heart, some believes it is in our brain. So in our mind or in our brain, if we say that there is these three things: conscious, the things that we do consciously. For example, right now I am teaching you. Now preconscious, for example, I am going to teach you something in the future, because before posting this video I have made a script, but right now I am not remembering the things. But when I am reading that, I will read the script, I will again remember that, oh, this is the thing that I am going to taught to my friends or students. So that become preconscious. For example, you have internalized some essays, or you have read some essays, you don't remember the essay exactly. Or example, you have known some friends, you don't remember them exactly, but whenever you see them you remember them. This is preconscious. Or remembering the answer in the exam is preconscious. Now what is unconscious? Unconscious is behind conscious, preconscious, then unconscious. So unconscious is something that we don't normally get through it, because it is being buried in our mind, beautifully, so suppressed or repressedly, so with so pressure that we have forgot that there are some things in us that are present in ourselves, but we don't know about it. So this is unconscious, and Freud believes that these unconscious only come in our mind or in our senses or in our conscious when we are dreaming, because when we are dreaming we are not active physically, but we need to express those thoughts. So our body somehow. So there is also another three part that model that Freud gives, which is id, ego and superego. id is our natural tendencies. Id is very much you can see id is very much noticeable in children, from, for example, from the children that is born in first day. The age is of the baby is day 1. So what the child does, whenever the child feels irritation, the child cries. But for example, now the child is 25 years old. If something bothers, will the child cry or will the person cry? No, because the person has learned throughout his 25-24 years that you cannot always cry. So this how the child has learned, through her experience, through his experience, and or through the things that the child sees. So where does that experience or knowledge comes? It is from the society. And so these societal rules, the things that we learn from outside world, not only negative, but always there are also things that we learn from outside world which are positive. So this is something, this is what Freud calls superego. So the id is crying immediately, but after being adult or after being mature, through experience, knowledge, we learn that we cannot cry. So this is superego. Now what is ego? Ego, basically in our day-to-day world, we actually have a wrong denotation of the word ego. We says, but in Freudian terms, ego is something that balances out the id and superego. So how ego balances out? Ego is our conscious and mature self, which tells us that look, you are feeling irritation, you are feeling anxiety, you can cry, but you cannot cry in front of everyone. Of course you can cry, but you cannot cry. For example, if you cry, this will not make any sense. So ego tells us how to balance between our natural instinct. For example, if somebody slaps you suddenly, you will naturally feel anger, you will want to slap the person back again. But through your experience, through the way you have learned, or whatever it is, you have that I cannot do things, or although there are some people who will slap back but some will not, but whatever, that you will not do the thing that, for example, if somebody has murdered someone, so suddenly the natural instinct would not be the murdering the other person, because somehow you cannot murder, because murdering is wrong. So there are many hidden psychological motive or many reason behind it. And also if we see that from the murderer's point of view, like we cannot say that the murderer is in balanced position, because he has committed something which is a crime. Now look, the murderer has committed a crime, but the murderer is hiding. Why the murderer is hiding? Because the murderer's ego is telling him that you have done which is wrong, which is something wrong, and which the society will not accept, and because of that you have to face consequences. You have to go to jail, you have to go to prison for years. So now the murderer is hiding. So the superego is telling that from the superego he has learned that even though he have committed something wrong, he have to hide, but because of his natural instinct, he has committed that. So this is how the three structure model, ego and superego works. Whereas there is the conscious, pre-conscious and unconscious. And please don't equal these things or in parallel with these things. These things are not parallel, these are just separate things. So now he has a hidden wish. For example, Shakespeare's Hamlet, he has a hidden wish to do the same thing. What his uncle did is killing his dad and marrying mom, which is similar to Oedipus complex. Now Freud believes that these things, these hidden desires or hidden wish, for example, the Dora's case where Dora sees a fire, and Freud believes that this fire represents passion. Now why Dora sees the dream? Dora sees the dream because Dora realizes that I cannot do these things in reality, but somehow his mind want to express those or do that thing. So in the form of dream, the fire came. Now why for example, if we represent fire as Dora's sexual feelings, why it comes as fire, not directly as sexual feelings? Because we from our childhood, the experiences, the things that we have learned, or the pressure that are being so embedded in our head, that we know that it is danger to directly say something or do something. So even in dream it is coming out in a symbolical form, and Freud calls this symbolical form or fire, which is the literal dream. So this is called manifest content, and when somebody or like Freud who will interpret the dream, then that interpreting, that means fire is equal to repressed passion or hidden sexual feelings, will be known as latent content. Remember these terms. Now comes Freudian critics. So Freudian critics look at hidden versus obvious meanings in a story. Now, because why this psychoanalysis is important for our literature? Because through this we can interpret what the author is trying to say. For example, when an author is writing a book, there is a hidden motive behind it, or if because authors or writers use many symbols. So through this psychoanalysis we can interpret those things, and it will help us to understand literature more. Jacques Lacan updated Freud's theory. He says that we understand ourselves through words. The unconscious is structured like a language, because in dreams whenever we are saying something, we actually, when we thought that dream, we actually thought in language, because without language we cannot think of anything. So we give meaning to things. So our self is not solid, it is built from language. Characters are just collections of words and not real people. We never know exactly what a word means. So the story that Lacan gives example is Edgar Allan Poe Paranoid Letter. The story is about a stolen letter. Lacan says the letter is our unconscious mind. Everyone acts because of it, but no one knows it. Our secret desires control us without us knowing it. There is also an important term in Freudian theory, which is Freudian sleep. Freudian sleep is something that we do without even realizing. For example, if you are talking about something and suddenly you mistake someone's name with someone, Freud will say that it happens because somehow that person was in your mind. So what Lacan critics do, Lacanian critics look at the text hidden meanings, not the author. So whatever is written in the text, what Lacanian critics would do, Lacanian critics would find the hidden meaning in the text. They will not look at the motive behind author. Find Lacan ideas like the mirror stage of desire. So what is a mirror stage? Mirror stage, Lacan says that it is describes when a baby looks in a mirror and sees their own reflection. So before this, the baby does not really know that they are a separate person. For example, around 6 to 18 months old, the baby always thinks that they are a part of their mother. So this is the first time. So when the child sees the mirror, the child realizes that no, that so here forms the sense of I or self. So Lacan says that when the child sees themselves, they realizes that they are a whole complete different person without the mother. So Lacan says that this image is an illusion. The reflection looks whole and perfect, but in real life the baby feels confused, weak and helpless. So they try to identify with the image, not what they are but what they want to be. So this creates the lifelong gap between the ideal self and the real self, what we want to be versus what we actually are. So mirror stage helps us understand in literature how characters form their identity, why they feel broken, lost or unsure of who they are, their search for wholeness which they may never fully reach. Here comes the story of Oedipus. Look, you see that Oedipus tries very hard not to does that incident of killing father, marrying mother. Even if he doesn't want to do, but somehow he does that. So it happens that so here creates that distance, like the ideal self of Oedipus is not to does that, but in real life without his knowing he does that. Ideas show how language hides or reveals truth. So for example, somehow the authors unintentionally use certain language that reveals something or hides something. Comparison of Freud and Lacan views. Freud focus on pupil, whereas Lacan focus on language. Freud characters have hidden desires, whereas Lacan texts have hidden meanings. Freud dreams show truth, Lacan's language hides the truth. Freud is Oedipus complex, Lacan uses mirror stage desire lack. For Freud, realism is okay. For Lacan, realism is misleading. So from psychoanalytic criticism, we learn that stories have layers Characters may act strangely because of deep secrets. Language is not always honest, it tricks and hides. Literature is like a dream and you need to interpret it. So, now why literature is important or why psychoanalysis is important in literature? Because psychoanalytic criticism helps us explore the latent meaning in literature, the hidden thoughts, desires, and emotions beneath the surface of the story. It looks beyond what characters say or do and focuses on what is going on unconsciously, often without their awareness. Based on Freud and Lacan theory, dreams can reveal repressed feelings through symbols, sleeps, or strange behavior. By using this approach, we understand not just the plot but the deeper, often unspoken truth within the text. Why should we care about psychoanalysis? Because it helps us answer some questions. Why do characters act in strange or extreme ways? What is really going on beneath the surface of the story? How do authors hide deep ideas inside their characters or symbols? So, psychoanalysis helps us look beyond what is said openly. Discover hidden fears, desires, guilt, or trauma. For example, Hamlet's delay makes sense when you realize he secretly relates to his uncle's crime. It's not about fear, but it is about guilt and repressed wishes. Psychoanalytic criticism gives us a X-ray vision for literature. It shows what is hiding behind the words in the minds of the characters, authors, and even ourselves as readers. Thank you. If you have liked this video, like, subscribe, and share with your friends.